listening to The Trade Gods.
What's going on, Player Profiler Nation? It is the latest episode of Trade Gods. I am your host, Matty Kiwoom, joined by my fellow Trade God brother in the morning, man. Lacking a little bit of tea to that neck today, my friend, Mr. Jason.
Oh, dude, it's up here.
What's going on? Hey,
This is-
you usually got some. You got some length usually. You know, today it's a little mock neck. You know, it's
today's the mock neck. You know, sometimes I think it's important to mix it up a little bit. And also, I finally had water back. If those of you tuned in to Wake and Take, I was without water for 25 hours, so it was a laundry day. So my usual turtlenecks are in the wash. And this is just one of my favorite shirts. It's it just has really good thinness to it. It's got like a vintage kind of thickish feel. So I wear it a lot. I was like, it's a mock neck. It's close enough. We'll go with it today.
I've bought clothes based on the length, or the material, but not the width, and not how thick or thin it was. So you may have just enlightened me to a new way of looking at comfort, my friend.
Oh, you've got to. I literally have gotten so good. I thrift shop a lot, audience, and I've gotten so good at being able to just look at a rack of t-shirts and tell you what each shirt will feel like without even touching them. And I can just scan through, grab exactly what I want, and leave. It's quite a superpower. I'm pretty proud of myself.
Don't you wish sometimes you could take away some of your learned over the course of your entire life skills and just reposition it for something else in your life, that it would give you some sort of freakish ability to process something, think of something, get ahead of something, whatever it is. Dude, I have so many things in my life that I'm so good at it. I'm like, but what does it really bring me?
If I could move how good I am at just deciding the quality of a t-shirt that I am at jumping, if I could swap those two, I would literally be the best basketball player of all time.
And for everyone listening too, Jason's actually taller than expected. I'm probably shorter than maybe people think, but when I saw you, Jay, when we were at the draft house last year, I was like, "Oh, Jason's taller than I thought he'd be." So
I'm 5'9".
No, you're not. You're taller than that. You're probably 5'10",
5'11". I haven't measured myself, but I don't think I'm.
He's lying. He's being modest. He's not short. And if he had the ability to jump that high, maybe. But we're not talking about powers. We've already gone off the rails. We're not even 3 minutes in, but that's what you get when you turn into Trade Gods. But today we have an action-packed episode, right? Because, we're just kind of following suit with the NFL. NFL has gone absolutely bananas. It's absolutely bonkos land over there right now. Teams are switching running backs. So we have 15 players. That's right. 15 players that have changed teams in the last few days. And we are going to go through this list and we are going to give you the buy or sell based on their new situation. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. We got 15 guys. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
It's time to buy and sell.
First guy on the list, a running back. And you're going to hear a lot about running backs this episode because, there's quite a bit that have switched teams. But we're talking about Saquon Barkley. Started off with the bang. He went from the New York Giants over to the Philadelphia Eagles on a 3-year, $37.75 million contract, $26 million guaranteed. And the numbers matter because the numbers help you paint the picture with confidence in relative to the new player on the new team. They seem pretty dang confident with Saquon. Why wouldn't they? So, Jason, what are you doing? Are you buying or selling Saquon Barkley?
It's going to be price dependent. As you guys know, we did undervalue Dynasty studs just a couple weeks ago, or maybe even last week. Time flies around here. And Saquon Barkley was one of my buy candidates at that time. He was like RB12, RB13, and he's now gone up to RB9. And I'm still kind of in. I'm less in. It's going to come down to price. I think that this is basically he's accurately valued. I think that he's not going to lose much value by the time the season rolls around, not going to gain much value by the time the year finishes. I'm pretty sure that's about where he's going to finish. But some stuff to kind of put you in to wanting to buy Saquon Barkley, maybe even over like give up your first round pick. This contract, you mentioned the price tag that beats the franchise tag. So they're paying him more than the top 5 salaries of a running back. And actually, if he's able to reach the maximum amount with all the incentives, it would be the second highest paying contract to an NFL running back of all time. So they're paying up for Saquon Barkley and they want to use him. And we saw last year the running back position with the Philadelphia Eagles combined 93 running back targets with DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Gainwell, Rashad Penny, Boston Scott. They got up to 93 targets. Swift's now gone, so that's going to open up. He had about 50 last year. And I'm sure Kenneth Gainwell isn't going to eat into Saquon Barkley's usage. Plus, you can look into the running game. There were 23 rushing touchdowns on the Philadelphia Eagles last year. Yes, 15 of them were Jalen Hurts, and that's still going to be there. But, a big part of that brotherly shove, the tush push, was Jason Kelce. And they're not going to have that all-pro center anymore to kind of start that play. They're still going to try it. They're still going to have it. They're still going to find success. But I really do find it hard to believe that it will be as successful as it has been the last 2 seasons without Jason Kelce. And I think that will lead to some more rushing touchdowns for Saquon Barkley as well. We saw Miles Sanders have 11 touchdowns in 2022. So you're talking about a guy who's probably going to get at least 60 targets in the pass game, probably up to 70 or 80. Then you've also got a guy who's probably going to score double-digit touchdowns with insane athleticism and also being able to play revenge against the New York Giants, who have kind of given him the middle finger his whole career twice a year. So I'm pretty much in on Saquon Barkley. It's going to come down to price at the end of the day, but I think he's accurately valued. And if you want to pivot from him, maybe he's a really good tearing down candidate. I would love to trade my Travis Etienne for Saquon with a little cherry on top.
I'm a sell here, and it's not because the player is bad or the situation's bad. I'm just staunchly against investing in running backs this early in the offseason while they're on a value upswing.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of risk that gets involved as that price ticks up. But what I want to do, instead of giving reasons why you should sell, because really that's it for me. It goes against my team building beliefs. I just try to get running backs as their value is perceivingly swinging downward as opposed to upward, because the risk of buying into a running back who has the tread on his tires like Saquon has at this point in the year seems to be, I don't know. It feels too much risk. I don't want to take on that much risk at this point of the year. So I'm looking to sell my Barkley shares. But you talked about shifting around, whether you have a certain piece. So why don't we just slap together a little bit of a chart here, or not a chart, but let's play a little game here. We got to figure out something called instead of the name game, because everyone calls it the name game. We got to think of it something else. The godly guess. Let's take godly guesses here on these players. In terms of who you'd rather have. So Saquon Barkley or Devon A-Chain?
Jesus, Saquon. Wow.
Saquon Barkley or Kyren Williams Jr.? Is he a junior? I don't know why.
Saquon. Give me Saquon.
Travis Etienne or Saquon Barkley?
Saquon.
And Saquon Barkley versus Kenneth Walker III.
This is crazy. K9. Give me Kenneth Walker.
Okay, so basically, if we're looking at keep trade cut, I just looked at running back 6, 7, 8. Barkley's at 9 and 10. So what you're saying is people might be in a great position to actually buy in to Saquon Barkley and, like you said, get a little bit extra on top. So if your market permits it and you could downshift, quotes, if you can down tier to Barkley, Jason says to do so. Me, on the other hand, I think you could. I don't know. I'm more. Sell is more of if I do not roster him. If I roster him, I don't think I'm overly looking to sell. I think I'm okay holding. So it's not really me saying get rid of Saquon. It's just I'm selling the notion that maybe I'm just a hold. This is why we have these conversations, because as the process kind of gets caught up and I see some things in practice, my mind can change. It is an ever-evolving mechanism. Okay. All right. Next guy. Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard went from the Dallas Cowboys to the Tennessee Titans on a 3-year, $24 million deal. Only $8 million of that guaranteed, so not really a long-term investment. He's currently in the top 20 amongst running backs in Dynasty. Jason, are you buying, selling, or now I've just discovered a third option, holding Tony Pollard?
Yeah, and I think hold is going to be the answer here with Tony Pollard. One thing that I'm just kind of coming around to with him, talked about on Wake and Take, I'll talk about it here. He had a quote last season in the middle of the year that he wasn't feeling right until week 11. Then in week 11, he scores 18 points. In week 12, he scores 22 points. In week 13, he scores 17 points. In week 14, he scores 16 points, and then kind of slows down a little bit, but then ends the season with 16 and 21 points. Basically, what I'm saying is when he said he was healthy and he was producing. And we've seen a ton of electricity from Tony Pollard, and it doesn't even take a lot of snaps for him to do it. Last year was his highest snap share earning season. He had a 70% snap share with the Dallas Cowboys last year, but didn't have a good year. He really didn't. He wasn't effective as a runner, really wasn't efficient in the passing game, really didn't look like Tony Pollard until the end of the year. But then you rewind a bit and you remember with Ezekiel Elliott, he only had a 50% snap share and still was RB8 in points per game. And so I think that him and Tajay Spears kind of having a complementary skill set, maybe not complementary is the right word, a very similar skill set, that'll only lead to just a productive backfield. Ultimately, it's going to come down to how the Titans offense looks next season. I know that you're a Will Levis guy. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is leaving. And then they bring in now Brian Callahan, who's, an offensive-minded coach, did a good job with the Bengals. So I think that we're looking at an offense that's probably going to take a step forward and a running back that's going to get a lot of targets. That's honestly probably going to be playing from behind a lot too. So I think that it's a hold. I don't know if I'm comfortable enough buying just because I want to see how this situation plays out. But if I could get in on Tony Pollard for maybe a late second, or just do a little swap, maybe not a swap. I see Tajay Spears is ahead of him on Keep Trade Cut. I would give Tajay Spears for Tony Pollard. I would definitely rather have Tony Pollard.
See, this is for me a definitive sell. If I roster him, I'm putting him on the block. I am trying to move on from him. And I'm just going to give a couple of targets here. The reason let me backtrack. Let me give a reason why I'm selling, and then I'll give my quick targets. Reason why I'm selling is everyone in the community was so high on Tajay Spears, and rightfully so. He looked really, really strong as a rookie. His question mark has really just been, how does that knee hold up? Mm-hmm. But as of right now, it's holding up. So do I believe Tony Pollard gets a massive split in terms of the running back share? Yeah, I do. I think he really does, because I think Spears is not going anywhere. And Tony Pollard, back when he did split with Zeke, he got the lower end of the platoon. Now, do those efficiency numbers keep up because he gets the slight edge now that he's the vet? I just don't know, because when I look at the times where he did split, RB58, RB51, RB30, right around 10 points a game in his best, he didn't really catapult up until, he really got near those 200 rush attempts and really kind of went off last year as running back 23 on a points per game basis. So I'm selling, and the targets that I'm looking to move on to from Tony Pollard is if I can get Najee straight up, give me Najee. Names like Kendre Miller, Kendre Miller, your second-year guys. Spears is probably going to be tough, but Kendre Miller plus, I'm in that, or someone that we'll talk about later in this list, Antonio Gibson plus something on top of that. This is the time of the year where I'm taking running backs that have value and trading them for as much as I can, because once the season starts to gear up, so can I, in terms of how I sharpen the sword getting ready for battle. So let's move on to the next guy. It's going to be our first quarterback. But before we dive in, I think we got a little bit of an ad read we're going to run, so stick around as Trade Gods continues.
Now, I know many of you are looking for a secret weapon for your Dynasty League, and I have it. It's called the Dynasty Dominator app. You go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's right there. It's $5 to download, and then every year it's $5 to load the next incoming class of rookies. You can add Superflex, add tight end premium. It's incredible because it allows you to look up players. It allows you to vote on whether a player is a buy, hold, or sell, and then see the market sentiment on that player. And you can compare their lifetime value rating from PlayerProfiler to their Dynasty ADP at the FFPC, all in the price lookup tool. And beyond that, we have a trade analyzer, so you'll never lose another Dynasty trade again. And in our settings, you can set this is a win now team, this is a rebuilding team, and then we let you compare players. Look at their metrics side by side, prospect metrics, NFL metrics. It's all there. It's $5 in the App Store. There's some add-ons for Superflex and to buy the upcoming rookie class. Every year, you're going to spend $5 on this thing, and it's going to be well worth it.
Welcome back, everybody. Trade Gods, Matty, Kiwoom, Jason, Allwine, going through 15 players that have changed teams during free agency and whether we're buying or selling based on their new situation. Let's get to the first quarterback. Russell Wilson, cut by the Denver Broncos, $85 million in dead cap. Unbelievable. But Pittsburgh decides, hey, if you're going to be free 99, why don't you come over to play for the Steelers? So the Steelers grab him for a 1 year, $1.21 million, all of it guaranteed. Basically, he's getting that money from Denver. Mm-hmm. But now that he's in Pittsburgh, I'm going to ask you this question twofold. One, is he the guaranteed starter when we get to week 1? And 2, are you buying or selling based on answering question number 1?
Yeah, I think he's going to start week 1. If he finishes the season, the starter is kind of going to be the other question. But I think he would. But I mean, I am holding on to Kenny Pickett as long as I can, I guess. I'm not going to give up on him just because, I know it sucks, man. It's terrible. It's not like I'm happy about it. I'm in fact a little upset about it. My quarterback room in the Trade Gods League has gone from good to great, from great to terrible, really dog shit very quickly.
It has. But you admit it was a good run. It was a good run, but
good run. It's all over though. It's all crashing. Anyway, Justin Fields, Bryce Young, Kenny Pickett for the audience. Anyway, Russell Wilson, quarterback 30 right now on keep trade cut, which I guess is fair. And single quarterback, he's probably not even going to be rostered really, which is also probably fair. But, I don't know if he's necessarily lost it for Superflex leagues. I think that he's still going to be a pretty serviceable quarterback, especially for your quarterback 3 slot. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being pretty fantasy relevant. I mean, I know it's Arthur Smith, and we hate what he did with Bijan and Drake London and Kyle Pitts, but I mean, he made Marcus Mariota a serviceable option. He made Desmond Ridder a serviceable option. He made Tyler Heineke a pretty solid option there for a minute. And I mean, Desmond Ridder in particular was turning the ball over 3-4 times a game and still getting you 20 points, 30 points even. So the quarterbacks in Arthur Smith's systems have actually been pretty effective. And Russell Wilson last year, although it was a down year, still had the 9th most passing touchdowns, still had 3,000 pass yards, still had the 9th best true passer rating, still had 341 rush yards and 3 rush touchdowns, still had a pretty solid completion percentage at 66%. And he was the most pressured quarterback in the league, had the most pressured throws per player profiler, and had the 34th protection rate. Literally so bad, it wouldn't even be a starting NFL team's protection rate, essentially. Outside of the top 32 is not what you want to see for protection rate. And despite being under constant duress, he was only 15th or 21st in interceptable passes with only 15 interceptable passes over the course of the year. Still had the 3rd highest pressure completion percentage, which again is really impressive given he was pressured so often, and had the 6th best pressured catchable pass rate. So this is a quarterback that still has something. I think will be okay. I like George Pickens. I like Pat Freiermuth. I know Najee Harris and Jalen Warren can be effective out of the backfield. And I think Arthur Smith is going to keep this offense pretty simple for Russ. And he's going to have some designed runs, opportunities to scramble, and some easy dink and dunk completions. And they're probably going to draft a wide receiver as well in Pittsburgh, now moving on from Deontay Johnson. And at the Senior Bowl, Mike Tomlin was heavily just watching all the wide receivers at the practices. I'm sure he was kind of doing the same at the combine, watching those stuff. So I think Russell Wilson's going to be fine. And at a quarterback 30 price tag, I mean, you could give up Daniel Jones and get Russell Wilson. And so I think that it sounds crazy, but I don't know if I'm too far away from that.
We're answering questions, right? That's how you have to break it down with Russell Wilson. We're answering questions. Is he the starter week 1? You said yes. I agree wholeheartedly. Yes, he is the Steelers week 1 quarterback. Is he dust? You went on to explain for many reasons why he is not dust. I also agree with you there. I'd also say that he was a QB 12 on a points per game basis and had some meaningful wins for Sean Payton. It didn't work out. No. But I don't think it's because Russ was dust in 2023. The last question we're going to answer is, how's that situation in Pittsburgh looking? and you kind of alluded to it, and I'm going to drive it home here. Arthur Smith as an offensive coordinator had Ryan Tannehill as a top 10 QB option on a points per game basis 2 years in a row. He was QB9 in 2019, QB9 in 2020 on a points per game basis. Russell Wilson, when he plays at his best, he is in a conservative offense that calculated shots deep and calculated runs forward. Sean Payton a little bit different in how he builds his offense, and it just didn't work. The relationship was never there in terms of what Russ likes to do and what Sean Payton desires. I think it's a great match. I mean, if you really take a Desmond Ridder or a Ryan Tannehill and you put them at their best, it's kind of Russell Wilson in their prime, someone who can strategically run, take calculated shots downfield, and really just control the ball in a conservative type offense. And I think Russell has enough in the tank that could be a successful marriage. And right now, I think he is the biggest buy candidate in Superflex. If you need your QB2, you have to put out offers. See if you can get them for round 2 in your Superflex drafts. And I know everyone loves these round 2s, and they should. This class is deep. But he's going to have George Pickens. That's his deep threat. We saw what he did with Cortland Sutton, so I think that is going to translate well. And then we're looking at another possession receiver. You mentioned Mike Tomlin's whereabouts throughout the offseason, throughout the scouting process. You saw him in Mobile looking at the wide receivers who excelled down there. Lad McConkey. He was obviously at the combine, and who excelled, who proved to be a lot more athletic than anticipated. Lad McConkey. UGA Pro Day Wednesday this week. Who's in attendance? Mike Tomlin.
Yep.
Guess who had a great pro day? Lad McConkey. I think Lad McConkey watch now is hot around pick 20 because the need is there. Yeah, they need other things, but the need is there for Pittsburgh to grab a possession receiver who can do a lot on the field that complements George Pickens well, and that seems to be Lad McConkey. Not to mention they were former teammates, so the menace probably has a fondness for Lad McConkey, and the pairing in the NFL, I think, helps the offense as a whole, helps Russell Wilson. That's why Russell Wilson is a buy candidate. So I think we answered a lot of questions surrounding Russ, and that's why you should go buy Russell Wilson right now in your Superflex leagues, and will potentially be my favorite last-round QB drafted guy in my redraft leagues, but that is a long way. All right, let's pick this thing up because we got a lot more guys to get through. We're already 20 minutes in, so let's get in. Josh Jacobs went from the Raiders to the Packers on a 4-year, $48 million deal, but only 12.5 guaranteed, so not a long-term investment. They can get out from underneath his contract after just 1 year. With all that in play, Jason, are you buying or selling Josh Jacobs on his new team?
If I'm contending, I'm buying. I think that Josh Jacobs is basically Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon combined into one body and soul. And that is going to be really, really good. He was number 1 in opportunity share last season. He's one of the most pure bell cows in the entire league. He's going to have that opportunity. We've seen a 2,000-yard season from him where he had over 50 catches and 400 receiving yards, was literally the running back 1 in standard on an offense ascending forward. Give me all the Josh Jacobs you can give me if I'm a contender. And in redraft leagues, I am totally drafting him if he falls to me.
I don't got much to add. In my opinion, right now, Josh Jacobs might be the best buy amongst the free agent change team players. The guys who signed with new teams in the free agency period. I think he's my number 1 buy. And it's the reason why you mentioned Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. Put your hands together, put them together, and that's Josh Jacobs. And there he is going to be, as you have in the notes, one of the purest bell cow players in the league. Now just got a pure bell cow role. Sure, they may add someone in the draft, but it ain't going to be before round 5. And even if it is, don't care. Josh Jacobs will eat in 2024. So he is a strong, strong buy for me. Next guy on the list, Kirk Cousins. Went from the Minnesota Vikings to the Atlanta Falcons down in your neck of the woods. Yeah, Dirty Birds. 4 years, 180 million parents. Teach your sons to throw the pigskin because that is some big-time cash at damn near 40 years of age. $100 million guaranteed. That's going to bring his career earnings almost to $500 million. You like that? You like that?
No.
All right, but
really-
you buying or selling? You buying or selling Kirk Cousins? Take
I
your
think
fandom out of it.
I think that Kirk Cousins is the most interesting prospect's not the right word, but just fantasy football player valuation out there right now. Because you look at Keep Trade Cut and it says quarterback 20, which tells me buy. But something tells me that whoever rosters Kirk Cousins right now is 100% not selling him at quarterback 20 prices. I have not seen so much hype snap out of nowhere for a quarterback like I have for Kirk Cousins. This is sounding like the second coming of Jesus to Georgia right now. And a ton of people who roster Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson are shouting from the rooftops. I don't think you can get Kirk Cousins for a reasonable price right now. And I honestly think if you can get yourself way past that quarterback 20 price tag in Dynasty, I would 100% sell. So based on value, I'm a buy. If you actually get them at quarterback 20 value, I just don't think you actually are. I just don't think that's possible right now. So I think I'm going to sell based on hype because I don't know if I just believe, I think it's just too good to be true for the city of Atlanta. This has been a cursed football team, and it just seems like the most Atlanta Falcons thing ever to throw $200 million at a quarterback for it not to work out. This is a 36-year-old quarterback who's only had one career playoff win, struggles in the big moments, just like the team he's going to. So maybe it's a match made in heaven, but I don't really think it's going to be as good for real life football as a lot of people are expecting. And I'm very scared. I'm very, very scared about that Achilles 100%. And so I can't, I'm taking the wait and see. I'm going to see what happens. I guess I'm all over the place on this guy, but ultimately we're waiting and seeing. And I think it's a sell if you can get the hype value, a buy if it's still what he was priced at before.
So the all overness of that answer is not going to be solved by me because I'm going to give you situations where you do all three. But first, I want to say this about Kirk Cousins, the football player, and the situation that he went to. Kirk Cousins, by all accounts, by all recollection, is a great teammate and a quarterback you can win with.
Yes.
He went to Minnesota. He did everything he could to get that team to the positions that he was in. He just wasn't able to win the big game. But now that he is with the coaching staff that he is with in Atlanta, you're talking about a guy in Zach Robinson who was front and center for the adaptation of Matthew Stafford, an older quarterback who never played in the big game, who had a good arm, who was a leader. A lot of similarities drawn between the two. Now, of course, he was not the offensive coordinator at the time. He probably was either a passing game coordinator or a QB coach because this is a few years ago now. But Zach Robinson has been in the LA Rams organization now, and Raheem Morris as well. So they have seen how you continue to cater to and get the most out of an aging quarterback. That's why I think that Kirk Cousins went to the perfect spot. And we're talking about that Achilles. He was at the NFL awards dancing, full on dancing. And then the team gave him almost $200 million. I think everyone's pretty okay with that Achilles. And I mean, I think that's just the state of medicine when it comes to these injuries.
Yeah.
But that leads me to buy. I'm buying if your league market reflects keep trade cut. And you can move a guy like Bryce Young for him, Justin Fields for him, Jared Goff for him, even Dak Prescott. Even if I have Brock Purdy, if I can move Brock Purdy for Kirk Cousins and a receiver in a pick, I'm buying. I just think that there's a lot left in the Kirk Cousins tank, and I think he's going to show it out. He's going to show out in Atlanta. He's got weapons. He's got the offensive coordinator. I think he's indoors, which we know he likes, and how can you not? In a division where it's very winnable, I think there's going to be a lot of positive stats coming from Kirk Cousins. So if you bought, into Kirk Cousins pre-injury on your contenders, I think you should be happy to hold, which leads me to why you should hold is if you have Kirk Cousins, I'm not particularly excited to move on from him. Matter of fact, I'm not really trading him. I'm holding him. I'm going to see what I got in Kirk Cousins. But there is a situation where I would sell. So I told you I'd talk about buy, hold, and now sell. I would kick the tires on a potential heist for the Drake London, Kyle Pitts team builder in your league. If you can take Kirk Cousins and get up to Kyler Murray, if you can get Jordan Love, if you can somehow build a bridge to get around one from the Kyle Pitts, from the Drake London team builder, then yes, that would be the one specific situation in which I would sell Kirk Cousins, because you're right. The hype around Drake London now and Kyle Pitts now is immense, and it all has to do with Kirk Cousins being the new QB in Atlanta, which also makes their number 8 pick very, very fun. They can go in a bunch of different directions, so I'm excited for that as someone who's been covering the NFL draft, and Mock 3.0 is now out. Go to playerprofiler.com to get my NFL Mock 3.0. It's just something I can't quit, even when we're talking dynasty trades. Let's keep it moving. Let's get back to the running backs. I miss talking about running backs. We talked about a couple quarterbacks over the last 3, but I want to get back talking about some running backs. Devin Singletary, a.k.a. Motor Singletary. First of all, sidebar.
Where'd that come from?
Are we calling him Motor now?
I guess so.
Because if we are, I know it's a rocket, but still, there's motor.
Yeah.
If we're going to call him Motor Singletary, and I mean, they put it out there like, no, you're calling him Motor Singletary. He's Rampage Jackson now. He has the nickname as his name. I'm in. I will forever call him Motor Singletary, because that's fucking awesome.
It is pretty awesome, man.
That is awesome.
It is pretty awesome. And for that reason, I'm 100% not selling Devin Singletary. And I guess I would buy him if I could get him at this RB38 price tag. I'm just not sure what that means, to be honest. Like, I guess I would throw like a 4th his way. I'm not sure about a 3rd. If I had a 3rd, I'd maybe wait till draft day to see who's there. But either way, I'm excited about what Devin Singletary can bring. I mean, he's basically going to be asked to replace what Saquon did. I don't think he'll get quite the volume he did, but, he's still going to be a running back on that offense that has heavily relied on their running back for the last few years. And they're going to have to be passing a lot, whether it's Drew Lock or Daniel Jones, because they're going to be terrible. And they paid him a decent amount of money, not a ton, but, I think it'll be okay. And I think that ultimately he'll probably perform right around where he's priced, maybe a little bit higher, have some spike weeks like he has in the past. I mean, he's always, no matter what, even if they draft someone, he's still going to, for some reason, get like a 50% opportunity share, because he earns the trust of the coaching staff and he produces. Don't even look at the profile. Know he's a good football player. Know he'll see the field, and know that he's someone who you can rely on in a pinch.
You know that I might be the biggest Devin Singletary fan on planet Earth. I had him. He's on like every single one of my teams because I grabbed him in the offseason last year, and he's paid off in spades. I'm holding if I roster him. I'm not looking to sell. I'm not buying because, again, I am just against buying running backs in March as their value goes up. So I'm just not buying. I'm not selling, though, either. I'm not looking to get off from him. I'm just holding. I want to see what happens because the NFL draft will roll around. And the weird thing about the NFL draft, what the NFL told us in free agency is that they don't love the running backs in this class. Not saying that they won't draft them, but they're not taking them. I think that we may not see a running back until midway through round 2. And I think the smattering of the top guys come out in round 3. So you could see the Giants take a Blake Corum in the 3rd round, a Trey Benson, a Jonathan Brooks, a Jalen Wright, a Braylon Allen. They could take a guy in the 3rd, 4th round, and that will cause Singletary's value to capsize. And at that point, maybe I try to buy because I believe in the player. He's been a perennial producer, not at a high level, but an RB2 level. And when we're playing fantasy, don't let the offseason – it's like every year in the offseason, we get the Men in Black memory thing in the face. And we forget how valuable and how gross it gets at running back 2 when you're trying to contend. Disgusting. Devin Singletary won a whole lot of championships last year, and he's now in a position where I think he could do the same. So I'm holding if I roster him, and then I need to see after the NFL draft what I do after that. So check in with the trade gods after the NFL draft, and maybe we'll have an update for Motor Singletary. Let's move on to the first wide receiver, and truly the only wide receiver that we've seen ink a piece of paper since it started. I mean, we have one other, but it's not this type of hype guy or level of fantasy player, I'd say. But Gabe Davis went from the Buffalo Bills to the Jacksonville Jaguars on a 3-year, $39 million deal, $24 million guaranteed. If you are a deep threat, this is the market for you. Sorry, Hollywood Brown. If you're looking for more than 3 and 40, you ain't getting it because the market has told us if they look at you as a deep guy and deep guy only, This is your market 3 at 39, 24 million guaranteed. But Davis on the Jaguars, Jason. Should people be buying or selling Gabe D in Jacksonville? In Duval?
I can't believe it. I really can't. But I haven't thought of a single reason why you wouldn't be buying Gabe Davis right now. I've been trying. I even added I waited a whole extra day to talk about it on Wake and Take because I just was like, do I really like Gabe Davis in Jacksonville? And I just do. I just simply like Gabe Davis in Jacksonville. I think one thing holding him back in Buffalo was Josh Allen and his dependency on Stephon Diggs, and then the coaching staff's dependency on the tight end play calling, and then what James Cook did out of the backfield. I think that Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback for a wide receiver like Gabe Davis. I don't think the Jaguars are going to be bringing back Calvin Ridley. That's 136 vacated targets. That's 1,000 yards. That's 8 touchdowns. That's awesome. I'm not saying he's going to get all of that, but I think we're definitely going to see Gabe Davis's best season yet. I would not be surprised if we see his best season we've seen. And we're going to see spike weeks from him 1,000,000%. We've seen it time and time again with the Jaguars. Evan Ingram has a week. Christian Kirk has a week. Zay Jones has a week. Calvin Ridley has a week. You're going to hear Gabe Davis's name at least 3 times next year with like 25 plus point, just monster games. And he's more than just a deep threat. You don't score 4 touchdowns in a playoff game if you're just a deep threat. He was winning routes all over the field. Not the most crisp route runner, but a good one on a good offense who spreads the ball around and can use a guy like Gabe Davis. I'm all in. I'm really surprised.
I don't know what happened to you. Your 25 hours with no water must have zapped your brain cells because I am buying Gabe Davis.
I'm all in, dude. I know. It's
buying.
Crazy. Yes. Wide receiver 56.
Buying Gabe Davis.
56. You're telling me. I'm gonna go to 56 right now. Where are we at? 56. That's not right. That's wide receiver 20. Hold on. I gotta go. Jahan Dotson is at 49.
Give me Dotson.
No way. Jerry Jeudy.
Yes. Give me Jeudy in the new situation.
Dontavian Wicks.
Give me Wicks.
No way, dude.
Absolutely. You're talking about spike weeks from
Myers.
Give me Jacoby.
No, dude. Come on. Quentin Johnston.
Well, you found my kryptonite. I'll take Jason Allwine without his jumping ability over Quentin Johnston. Gabe Davis in best ball is frozen. This is not a best ball discussion. Well, if you could apply your thrifting skills to jumping, then maybe you could be a deep threat.
I literally have like a 1.5 foot vert, Matty.
Well, if you did, all right, fine. But anyway, Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis in best ball is frozen. This is not a best ball discussion. You ain't buying Gabe Davis in best ball. No one's selling Gabe Davis in best ball. But he went from having a Stephon Diggs problem to having a Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, probably Calvin Ridley problem.
No. If they re-sign Calvin Ridley, they have to give a 2nd-round pick to the Falcons.
Not today. If they wait till after Wednesday at 4 p.m., and spoiler alert, we are pre-recording this because it's on at 9 p.m., but we're talking about a deadline at 4 p.m. Hint, we're pre-recording. Mm-hmm. They'd only have to give a 3rd. That's what this whole delay is about. Patriots apparently have a really nice offer on the table, and he's holding out because he believes the Jaguars are going to extend him, and he wants to stay. So if you're talking about all those players in place, he's still just a spike week dependent player, and I'm looking to sell. Sell Gabe Davis all day long. Give me the players that you were mentioning over Gabe Davis. And like I said, in best ball, it's frozen. You ain't getting them. No one's selling him at a discounted price because everyone knows his value 3 or 4 times in the season is going to be berserk. But after that, you ain't going to want to deal with it. So when you're lineup league, get rid of.
If Ridley's back, I don't want him. If Ridley's back, I don't want him.
If it ain't Ridley, then it's Roman Wilson in the draft. It's going to be somebody.
I don't think it will be. I think that they would sit. I mean, they have a lot of problems on that defense. They might bring in someone late, but I don't think.
Well, they franchise Josh Allen. They'll keep him around. They definitely need a cornerback. But this wide receiver class is so deep. Oh, the wide receivers I'd rather have over Gabe Davis. Roman Wilson. I'd rather have Lad McConkey. Yeah. I'd rather have Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy. I would rather have Javon Baker.
These guys, though, they're in the running for like Ricky Pearsall, Luke.
I'd rather have Ricky Pearsall. I would rather have Brendan Rice.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. Give me a round 2 in the rookie and give me in the rookie draft, and you can have my Gabe Davis.
Yeah,
cuts.
I just think you could get him for like a 3rd or a 4th, and I think that I'm in on that price if there's no Calvin Ridley.
Stay tuned. Tune in to Wake and Take, and when you do make that happen, you can let everyone know that the markets has depicted that as the case again.
Everyone who rosters Gabe Davis has been waiting for a moment to sell Gabe Davis.
They're diving into the psyche of the Gabe Davis roster, and you're right. And you are right. Yes. Let's move on to the next guy, Austin Eckler. Cannot believe that after his production for fantasy, he was signed by the Washington Commanders from the LA Chargers for 2 years, $8.34 million, only $4.21 guaranteed. Kind of a 1-year rental if you look at it. But Jason, are you buying or selling Austin Eckler?
This is another one I'm really surprised about because I actually own Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson in the Trade Gods League. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh! I was like, actually, this is not bad. I think that we're going to be talking about a very, very productive running back duo here. I know that eats into each other's opportunities, but with both of them now having a hit, Austin Eckler down at RB 39, I think you could get both, and both are going to be productive for fantasy. And at the very least, Austin Eckler is still going to be productive for fantasy. This is going to be a bad football team. So if anyone gets phased out of the running game, it's going to be Brian Robinson as they lean into Austin Eckler's pass catching ability. And we know with Cliff Kingsbury, they're going to be passing the ball to the running back a lot. And I also think with a rookie quarterback, Drake May, that they will be relying on the running backs, whether that's Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, especially with Dan Quinn. I mean, Dan Quinn being the head coach, he relied on Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman in his best year with the Falcons. So I think that we're going to be talking about a really productive running back duo. I think you could get Austin Eckler really, really cheap right now. And I think the fact that he's going to not have to be a bell cow main guy like he was in the Chargers is actually going to help his efficiency. Because we saw him last year still put up 20-plus point games with Easton Stick, battling a high ankle sprain. I think I'm in on Austin Eckler. I think that he's healthier than he was last season, and I like his price tag.
I am just rudimentally not into buying running backs on their way up. That's why I'm buying Austin Eckler, because his value in markets is down. People see this contract. People believe that he is just going to be the next buried pass catcher in Washington, a la the next guy we'll talk about. Or, who's the pass catcher down there that – why am I drawing a blank on him? Help me out.
Not Jerick McKinnon.
That's what I was thinking. I can't get Jerick McKinnon.
It's a similar name, though. J.D. McKissick.
There it is. Bada bing, bada boom. People are perceiving Austin Eckler to be that. I don't think he's that. I think he has a lot in the tank in terms of fantasy production. So I'm buying Austin Eckler. I think you can get him cheap. He's the exact type of guy I want to get on my contenders. The next guy I want to talk about is absolutely going to cause a clash. Antonio Gibson goes from the Commanders to the Patriots on a 3-year, $11.25 million deal, $5.3 million guaranteed. If I would have told you at the beginning of this offseason that Austin Eckler would get less guaranteed money than Antonio Gibson, baby, that would be a crazy train of thought. But Jason, who cares about the money? Are you buying or selling in Dynasty?
I'll keep it short. I'm selling him to Matty Kiwoom.
Yes, you are, because I am buying all over the place. Bringing him in on this type of deal, it's not a long-term investment, but it's looking like a 2-year deal, potentially 3.
Yeah.
And he will be, and I am not saying this in hyperbole, I mean this, right here, right now, as we're recording, Wednesday, March 13th at 2:20 p.m. Antonio Gibson is the best playmaker on this New England Patriots team. And I don't think it's relatively close. We're still talking about a kid who's 6 feet, 230 pounds, 4.39 40, 99th percentile speed score, a pass catcher that has been so effective that he has had the quietest span of 40 receptions a year throughout his entire career. That's what he's averaged over his 4-year career, 40-plus receptions. He's had double-digit touchdowns on the ground twice in his career. A guy who's been perennially underused, so guess what? He's still got tread on the tires. Second last year in yards per touch amongst qualified running backs. Fourth in yards created per touch. He was second. Fourth in yards per touch, and was second in production premium last year. This is a guy who's an efficiency monster. He is the best offensive player that the Patriots have, and it doesn't seem they're that in that big a rush to become the greatest show on turf. So I'm buying Antonio Gibson because I think he is an afterthought even after the signing, and the dumpster fire that is the Patriots is doing his value no favors, but it can do you, the fantasy gamer, a bunch of favor. Go ahead and add Gibson now. Hold on to your roster. He's going to come at a cheap price, and then you will like what he says. And if you're a Ramondre Stevenson believer, he's better than Ramondre in every which way. The only thing that Ramondre Stevens has was a 69 reception season when he was led by a defensive coordinator and special teams guy. And as a Patriots fan, I've watched a ton of games of Ramondre Stevenson, especially over his best season. And it was a lot of games where he had 7 fantasy points going to the last 2.5 minutes, and it was check down, check down, check down. He walked away with 15.5 fantasy points. I don't see that this year. I don't see that happening ever again for Ramondre. Antonio Gibson is there, and Antonio Gibson is going to be the man for the Patriots. So buy anywhere you can. Let's keep it going. We got 3 running backs in a row here. Derrick Henry went to the Baltimore Ravens, 2 years, $16 million, $9 million guaranteed. Are you buying or selling King Henry?
I'm hold and then lean on buy depending on the price. I just, the only thing is I'm not someone who finds these mobile quarterback landing spots very good for running backs. I do think that Derrick Henry's ceiling is zapped here, but I do like his floor. I just don't think he's going to be able to be the running back that he was in Tennessee. He's not going to get 30-plus carries a game. He's not going to lead the league in carries, and he's probably going to score less rushing touchdowns. But with that all being said, I mean, he still had the second most rush yards last season, still had the second most breakaway runs, and still had the 6th most touchdowns. He's still King Henry. He's still a really, really good running back. And he's probably still going to score a lot of touchdowns because the Baltimore Ravens offense is good. I don't think there's going to be anyone really competing with him outside of Lamar Jackson. I don't think they're bringing back J.K. Dobbins. Keaton Mitchell is going to be good lightning to him when he can return, but it's going to take some time. His injury was pretty gruesome. So I guess I'm buying maybe third, second, end of second, maybe, to be honest, which might be too high. But, I still believe in the King. I guess that's more if I'm contending, though.
I'm with you. I'm a hold. I don't necessarily think you can buy right now. I think anyone who rosters Henry is looking to get a windfall in the one league in which I've seen a lot of activity in terms of the effort to sell a Derrick Henry. They've come for my Kyler Murray. No way. You're not even close. So to me, I think a lot of markets are saying that the Derrick Henry value is on an upswing. So I'm not buying, I'm holding. But I'm not necessarily selling either. I don't think there's really a whole lot of running backs that will do you a favor moving into selling Derrick Henry for. So I'm a pretty strong hold for the King. Let's move on to DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift was the first running back off the board in free agency. He went to the Chicago Bears for 3 years, $24 million, 15.3 guaranteed. So a pretty big and confident running back contract. Are you buying, selling, or holding DeAndre Swift, though, Jason?
I think I'm going to be selling him just because I do think that this running back market is fun to capitalize on when there is an upswing in value, like you say. And I don't know how confident I am in DeAndre Swift at his current value. I feel like RB15 is, probably right about what he's worth. But I think that we've talked about Tony Pollard. We've talked about Derrick Henry. We've talked about even Najee Harris, Antonio Gibson, Austin Eckler. I mean, you can get some really, really nice cherries on top. And I think that all of those players would produce similarly, at least next season. So I don't know. I still think he's best served as a guy who only gets around 50 to 60% of the snaps. We're not quite sure how good the Bears are going to be. I do still think Khalil Herbert will still be there. I do think Roschon Johnson will still be there. I think Swift is still going to be the main guy, but I'm not crazy in on him. I mean, he still has the injury history. He still can't really get a full workload. And I'm not really going to trust Matt Eberflus to properly run an offense.
I like the age, 25 years old. Love the contract, shows a lot of confidence, but I'm selling. He'd be more of a hold if I don't think the market was as hot for DeAndre Swift as they are right now. And I'm looking to sell. I think you can move for a lesser running back and get a pick on top, maybe like a Najee in a late second or Javonte Williams in a third. Any which way you cut it up, I just have enough questions for the role and for the player itself. Seems like of his career, 1 year sticks out in a consistent production basis. And when you look at the second half of his season, it was a pretty down year. It was a pretty down swing in terms of his production in the second half. So I don't know if he's going to have the longevity, the consistency to be a top 15 running back when we're trying to predict here in March. So I'm looking to sell just based on the market. All right, let's get to another running back here, veteran running back. Aaron Jones, cut by the Packers, signed the next day by the division rival Minnesota Vikings for 1 year, $7 million, the same type of money that Dalvin Cook got in New York. But are you buying or selling Aaron Jones?
I'm going to buy him if I'm contending. I think that he's a really good piece to get right now at his RB34 price. And I think he signed in Minnesota pretty purposefully to take some revenge on those Green Bay Packers. I think he feels a bit angry about what they did to him based on how much he did for them over his career, especially not even letting him test the full free agency market and literally waiting until they had his replacement to send him free. I know it's a business, but if I were him, I would feel pretty bad. And I know he's 29 years old coming off his worst season, but his worst season is still almost 1,000 yards off of 11 games and averaging a solid 12 points per game. I'm not sure what this Vikings offense is going to look like, but I think that he's going to be able to get you some points just based on the type of running back he is and on his value. If I'm competing, I think I'll take a shot on him.
I agree. I'm buying. I think he's the perfect veteran type of priced veteran that you can get for a contender. I'm not going crazy, but if someone puts him on the block, it means they think they're going to get over on someone. And I'd be willing to dance a little bit and pay the price because I think the price will be exactly what you need. And with Ty Chandler really being his biggest competition, I think it's his job. I think it'll be his job with a sprinkling of Ty Chandler. And I think he could be a productive member of this offense. You know, you bring him in to help a team win, right? They don't bring him in to be like a spy or someone that could give him the Packers secrets. They're bringing him in to use him at $7 million. In terms of guaranteed money, that's more guaranteed money than the likes of Tony Gibson, Austin Eckler, more guaranteed money than Singletary. It puts him right around Derrick Henry in terms of guaranteed money. So it's not nothing. So I'm with you. I'm looking to buy. Next guy on the list, Darnell Mooney, went to the Atlanta Falcons for 3 years, $39 million, gets more guarantees than Gabe Davis, 26. Are you buying or selling Mr. Darnell Mooney? You're a mute, I think, sir.
I feel like the Falcons have gone so long with being able to spend money in free agency that now that they're finally under the dead cap from Matt Ryan's contract, they're like, yes, we can blow all of our money on pieces that don't matter that much. Darnell Mooney's contract is, I guess, okay in the wide receiver market, but I'm not sure what he's done to earn it. He's only had 1 year over 650 yards in his 5 seasons. And just has never really been that much of an impact player. He's a good wide receiver. He's totally fine. But is that really who you want on this team trying to take a step forward? And to be completely honest, I'm not sure what I can expect from him in terms of a managed roster. Maybe a flex spot, but I know I'm not going to ever really feel comfortable about it. Honestly, even if there is an injury, he's going to be like 4th in pecking order on this offense. I know Kirk Cousins can spread it around, and his best hope is to maybe be a KJ Osborne. But we just did a whole episode on really deep values, and a lot of them that we talked about were wide receivers. And I would 100% take my Darnell Mooney, let's face it, a throw-in piece, and get another like just cheap wide receiver, maybe a couple. I think I would go garbage, dumpster diving with Darnell Mooney and just honestly get whatever I can.
I'm buying because I think the price is down. If I had Gabe Davis and you had Darnell Mooney, I would swap you right now.
Okay, I would love to do that.
I think he's going to have similar spike weeks. This is a guy who's had 1,000 yards receiving for a team that wasn't big on throwing to multiple guys. DJ Moore kind of took the lion's share of the production last year. And it's not that I love Mooney. I love his speed. I kind of like his skill set. And I think that they're building a very complete offense right now. They're going to have obviously a stud running back, a tight end with a ton of talent. They have their alpha wide receiver. Now they have their deep threat. I think they're just missing kind of that slot type guy, and I think they can get that in the draft. So I think they're going to build this really complete offense. And although Darnell Mooney will be volatile, there won't be a spot where you can consistently depend on him. But as a guy with spike weeks, being valued along the same as a Jonathan Mingo, Rashad Bateman, a Josh Palmer, a Mike Williams, Treylon Burks, even these guys have as many red flags as Darnell Mooney, but Darnell Mooney just got a lot of guaranteed money. They're excited to have him on this team. So sometimes I like these NFL teams kind of push me in the right direction. And right now, at his current, outside of the top 65 price, let me get him for free and let me see what they can do with him in Atlanta. The next guy on the list, Gardner Minshew, signs with the Vegas Raiders for 2 years, $25 million. In your Superflex leagues, are you trying to buy or sell Gardner Minshew?
I'm all in a Gardner Minshew, and I mean, to be completely honest, I wouldn't mind. I might do it. I might try it. A little best ball action, a little Devontae Adams, Gardner Minshew single QB build. See how crazy I could get, because I think that Gardner Minshew is going to have a pretty solid season next year. I think that even if they draft someone, he's still going to play most of the year, and he's going to be good. He's got Devontae Adams. He's got a good head coach now. Michael Mayer, I think, is going to take a step forward. And we've seen him. He's just a producer. He just gets you fantasy points. And if you're looking for a cheap QB3 in Superflex, I would love to get myself some Gardner Minshew.
I'm a hold now. After the draft, I'm going to recalibrate because they're going to be on a quarterback. If J.J. McCarthy's there at 13, they're going to take him. And what's going to happen to Gardner Minshew is what's happened to him last year, which was they brought him in Indianapolis, then they drafted the guy. But what do we see in Indy? It was just an injury away from Gardner Minshew coming in, taking the reins, and being a serviceable player. That's why I'm not getting rid of him. That's why I'm not selling. I don't think you're going to get a locked-in starter QB price for Gardner Minshew. So I'm holding, and then we'll recalibrate in or post-NFL draft. Those are the 14 guys listed, but if you remember at the top of the show, I said we're going to talk 15 because we got a bonus question. We lumped it all together. You might have noticed there was not a single tight end that we talked about because, well, why? Why talk about multiple? Let's lump it into one question. Jason, give me the one QB based on their recent signing that you may be buying.
Tight end, right? Or
tight end. Just tight end. We're just talking
tight end. Yeah, I don't know why. I am just enamored with the tight end Colby Parkinson. I don't know if it's the hair or what, but you've
been a Parkinson guy for a while.
I've been a Parkinson guy for a really long time. Probably the only Colby Parkinson guy. But every time I've watched a Seahawks game, he's gotten like a 30-yard catch. He's just a guy who sneakily makes an impact play time and time again for the Seattle Seahawks, despite being buried on the depth chart. And he actually has a solid profile. I want to say he actually went to tight end university with all of those tight ends a couple seasons back. And now he lands in a pretty solid spot on the Rams. And they're paying him 3 years, $22.5 million for a guy that hasn't ever really done anything. It was pretty surprising. And it shows that the Rams have seen what he's done in his own division, playing against him twice a year. They're in on him. It's an offense that targets the tight end a ton. Tyler Higbee's hurt, and Davis Allen is not as good as Colby Parkinson. So I think that Colby Parkinson time is upon us.
Colby Parkinson, be on the lookout for a late round tight end that may break out in 2024. That's been it. That's 15 players and buy or sell based on their new situation. Jason, that was a blast. Now let the people listening know, what are you working on? What can they be looking forward to coming out?
Yeah, so Wake and Take as usual. And then I just got invited to write a couple rookies for the rookie guide. So be on the lookout for that. And then as usual, articles, Twitter, all that fun stuff. And then just always tune into the Player Profiler social medias on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're there. We're posting stuff. Go follow us.
You can follow me over on X at Matty Kiwoom. The mock draft 3.0 is out now at PlayerProfiler.com. So go look at that. 3 rounds, 100 picks, more than 15 trades. It was a doozy, so make sure you check that out. And make sure you are subscribed to the Player Profiler YouTube channel. Like and comment this very video. Let's help just build this Trade God show. We love, all the interactions. We love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. So just help us build the TG show up to the masses, to the heavens, if you will. I'm Matty Kiwoom. He's Jason Allwine. We are the Trade Gods, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.